I still remember the scent of pine, needles, and roasted turkey, filling the air that Christmas evening. The fireplace crackling, laughter echoing off the walls of the old family home. And for a moment, everything felt safe, like the world hadn't already been preparing to shatter beneath my feet. My name is Elena, and that night, my parents handed me a pen that would change everything. Grandma Rose's farm had always been my sanctuary. Those rolling green fields where I learned to ride my first bike. The old oak tree I'd climb when the world felt too heavy. The porch swing where she'd tell me stories about the woman she hoped I'd become. After she passed 2 years ago, she left the farm to me. She made it crystal, clear in her will, her final gift to the granddaughter, who actually loved the land, not just its value. My parents knew that. They smiled through the funeral. They nodded when the lawyer read the terms. But greed has a way of rewriting memories. That Christmas, the table was set beautifully. Mom's famous cranberry sauce. Dad carving the turkey like he was the king of the world. My younger brother Jake was there too, quiet as always. After dessert, my father slid a thick envelope across the table. Sweetheart, just a few documents about Grandma's estate. Nothing complicated. Sign here so we can keep things moving smoothly. He held out a sleek black pen, the one he always used for important deals. Mom placed her hand over mine, her eyes soft. For the family, Elena, you trust us, don't you? I was grieving, exhausted. I wanted harmony more than anything. So I took the pen. I signed where they pointed, multiple pages, fast, without reading every line. They hugged me tight afterward, told me how proud they were, how this would secure our future. I believed them. Why wouldn't I? They were my parents. But what I didn't know that night was that I had just signed away the only piece of my grandmother that still felt alive. The farm wasn't being handled for the family. It was being sold to a developer who planned to turn those sacred fields into condos. My parents had forged the path, manipulated the paperwork, and used my trust like a weapon. 2 months later, the truth hit me like winter wind cutting through an open door. I drove out to the farm for my usual weekend escape, only to find a for sale sign hammered into the ground and heavy equipment already clearing the back pasture. My heart stopped. I called my parents immediately, voice shaking. Dad answered calmly, almost cheerfully. Elena, honey, it's done. We sold it. The money is in a trust for all of us. You'll thank us one day. Thank them? I felt shattered. Broken in a way I didn't know was possible. This wasn't just property. This was Grandma's life. Her hands had planted those apple trees. Her laughter had filled that old kitchen. And my own parents had stolen it from me while I was too numb with grief to see the trap. I confronted them at their house that same evening. Mom cried, saying it was for my own good that I was too emotional to manage it. Dad raised his voice for the first time I could remember, telling me I was ungrateful. That family means making hard choices. Jake just stared at the floor, avoiding my eyes. I realized then that they had all known. Every smile at Christmas, every reassuring touch had been part of the plan. The betrayal cut deeper than any heartbreak I'd ever known. Nights blurred into days as I lay awake, replaying that dinner, that pen in my hand. I felt exposed, foolish, and utterly alone. How could the people who were supposed to protect me destroy the one thing that gave me peace? I stopped answering their calls. I wandered the empty fields one last time before the sale finalized, picking up a handful of soil and letting it slip through my fingers like the trust I once had in them. But pain has a way of forging steel. Slowly, the tears dried. The ache turned into something sharper, clarity. I hired a lawyer. I dug through records. I discovered the documents weren't as clean as they seemed. There were irregularities, rushed signatures, and questions about whether I had been fully informed. My parents had underestimated me. They thought grief would keep me quiet. They didn't know that love for Grandma would make me fight. I spent months gathering evidence, quietly, carefully. I learned the developer had paid far more than market value under the table. My parents had already spent a chunk of it on a new vacation home. The realization made my blood run cold, but it also lit a fire in me. I was no longer the trusting daughter at the Christmas table. I was becoming someone they wouldn't recognize. The revenge didn't come with shouting or dramatic scenes. It came in envelopes, quiet, precise, and devastating. I mailed them something they would never forget. First, a thick packet to their lawyer and the developer, proof of the manipulation. affidavits from witnesses who remembered Grandma's clear wishes, and documentation, showing how my signature had been obtained under false pretenses. The sale froze immediately. The developer, furious at the legal mess, pulled out and demanded their deposit back. Then came the second envelope. This one I hand-delivered to my parents' doorstep on a quiet Sunday afternoon. Inside were copies of everything, plus a letter I wrote from the heart. I told them how their betrayal had broken something beautiful between us. How the farm wasn't just land, it was legacy. Love and the last piece of Grandma I had. I didn't yell. I simply left it there and walked away. The consequences unfolded like falling dominoes. The family reputation they cared so much about began to crack. Relatives who once praised them started asking questions. Jake, torn between loyalties, finally admitted he had overheard their plan weeks before Christmas and said nothing. My mother called me in tears, voice trembling, saying she never meant for it to go this far. Dad tried to negotiate, offering me a share of the money, but it was too late. The farm didn't sell. Through legal pressure and public attention from a local story about family, inheritance disputes, the court sided with Grandma's original will. The property came back to me. I stood on that porch again, tears streaming down my face, feeling her presence stronger than ever. My parents lost more than money. They lost their daughter. The relationship we once had is gone, replaced by a cold distance they created. I still feel the ache sometimes, but it's softer now. I visit the farm every weekend. I've started restoring the garden, planting new flowers where the old ones used to bloom. And every time I sit on that porch swing, I whisper to Grandma that I fought for what she left me. The moral I carry with me is this: trust is a gift, but blind trust can cost you everything. Family should lift you up, not tear you down for profit. When those closest to you betray you, the deepest revenge isn't destruction. It's rising stronger, reclaiming what's yours, and choosing peace on your own terms. I lost my parents that Christmas, but I found myself. And the farm still stands, a reminder that some legacies are worth every tear, every fight, and every quiet victory.